Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And we're reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada wrote a lot of books, but his magnum opus, as they say, the book that was to him the most important book, that book, the Gita and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He actually stopped translating and commenting Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Doctor, on the Bhagavatam at the 5th canto, and he finished the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these three books, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But of all of them, the Bhagavatam is like really foundational because it gives us a deep look at who we are, what the world is, what our source is, how it's all working, how all the laws of nature are working. And I was thinking today, as I was meditating on Advaita Acharya, because Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. And we've been hearing quite a bit about that in the different purports and different things we've been studying lately in the Bhagavatam. How Krishna, expands into different expansions. And the first expansions of his that have something to do with the creation of the material world and the maintenance of the material world is Mahavishnu. And then he expands into the different Purusha avatars. So, unless we have this knowledge, the material energy will continue to convince us that things that are not actually of value are of value. Like now, the gold standard's out the window. So, what's actually of value? It used to be that people would exchange for goods gold or silver or copper, things that are of value. And Prabhupada told us that was the beginning of the end of human civilization, basically. And it'll keep going for 400,000 more years. We're not in any, immediate danger of, the whole thing, going up in smoke. But it will be more difficult, and the cycles, the same cycle keeps going again and again, But the real security, or the real insurance policy, or the real value, the gold, the standard, is Krishna. He says, Masuchaha. If you surrender to Krishna, then, and don't worry, because Krishna is the one who's providing everything. And he can take care of people who are in a situation which seems to be overwhelming and, bringing everybody down, and he can protect his devotees individually and collectively from the whole thing. Not necessarily materially, but internally, our peace of mind is extremely important, because, don't mind, we're all going to die. Think about it. Everybody is going to die. And we're busy thinking of how we can make things better now, for this one and that one and this, for this, that reason. But at the end of the day, we're going to leave this body, and everything that we're trying to make more comfortable and better and this and that, when we leave the body, it's finished. So the only thing that we take with us is our consciousness. And if our consciousness is fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it becomes fixed in this age, particularly by hearing and chanting the holy names of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. These activities are fixing our consciousness and our faith, and that's the currency. You can have all the gold in the world, and when it comes time to leave your body, you're going to say, anyway, here, take a little extra gold and, give me a good... No, you can't. It doesn't work like that. The only currency is faith, pure faith. And that pure faith comes into the heart when we find out what the actual reality is. what do they say? Somebody said, the truth will set you free. And it's literally true. Yogyartat kamanonyatra lokoyam kamabandhana. Krishna says, you have to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna, the source. Because if you don't, karma bandhana, then the reactions will bind you and bind you and bind you, and the fear will give me more and more and more. So even in very hellish, so-called hellish situations, if our currency of peace is there in our hearts, pure faith in God, then we can be stable and happy under any circumstance. That's the blessing of Advaita Acharya. Okay, I got a little carried away there. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to this daily reading of Srila Prabhupada's books, which is extremely important. And let's hear what Sanatana Goswami has to say about the Srimad-Bhagavatam, his beautiful glorification. It goes like this. Sarvashastrabdi piyusha sarvaladvakaiko satpala sarvasiddhanta ratnaja sarvalokaika drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvandodita Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Marika Bando Matsangin Madguru Man Mahadana Man Nishtadagamagdagya Mat Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochatakara hanamunchakadachin mam premna ritkatayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So now we've reached the 21st chapter of the 4th canto, and Maharaja Prthu, a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has come to act as a king, King of Kings, and now he is giving instructions to his citizens. Text 27. My dear respectable ladies and gentlemen, according to the authoritative statements of Shastra, there must be a supreme authority who is able to award the respective benefits of our present activities. Otherwise, why should there be persons who are unusually beautiful and powerful, both in this life and in the life after death? Purport. Prthu Maharaja's sole aim in ruling his kingdom was to raise the citizens to the standard of God consciousness. Since there was a great assembly in the arena of sacrifice, there were different types of men present, but he was especially interested in speaking to those who were not atheists. It has already been explained in the previous verses that Prthu Maharaj advised the citizens to become Adhoksaja Diya, which means God conscious or Krishna conscious. And in this verse, he specifically presents the authority of Shastra, even though his father was a #1 atheist who did not abide by the injunctions mentioned in the Vedic Shastras, who practically stopped all sacrificial performances, and who so disgusted the Brahmanas that they not only dethroned him, but cursed and killed him. Atheistic men do not believe in the existence of God, and thus they understand everything which is happening in our daily lives to be due to physical arrangement and chance. Atheists believe in the atheistic Sankhya philosophy of the combination of Prakriti and Purusha. They believe only in matter and hold that matter, under certain conditions of amalgamation, gives rise to the living force, which then appears as Purusha, the enjoyer. Then, by a combination of matter and the living force, the many varieties of material manifestation come into existence. Nor do atheists believe in the injunctions of the Vedas. According to them, all the Vedic injunctions are simply theories and have no practical application in life. Taking all this into consideration, Prthu Maharaj suggested that theistic men will solidly reject the views of the atheists on the grounds that there cannot be many varieties of existence without the plan of a superior intelligence. Atheists very vaguely explain that these varieties of existence occur simply by chance, but the theists who believe in the injunctions of the Vedas must reach all their conclusions under the direction of the Vedas. In the Vishnu Purana, it is said that the entire Varnashram institution is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The rules and regulations set up for the execution of the duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, or Brahmacharis, Grihastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis, are all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. At the present moment, although the so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras have lost their original culture, they claim to be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras by birthright. Yet they have rejected the proposition that such social and spiritual orders are especially meant to worship, for worship of Lord Vishnu. The dangerous Mayavad theory set forth by Shankaracharya that God is impersonal does not tally with the injunctions of the Vedas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore described the Mayavadi philosophers as the greatest offenders against the personality of Godhead. According to the Vedic system, one who does not abide by the orders of the Vedas is called a Nastika, or atheist. When Lord Buddha preached his theory of nonviolence, he was obliged to deny the authority of the Vedas, and for this reason, he was considered by the followers of the Vedas to be a Nastika. But although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly enunciated that the followers of Lord Buddha's philosophy are Nastikas, or atheists, because of their denial of the authority of the Vedas, he considered the Shankarites, who wanted to establish Vedic authority by trickery and who actually followed the Mayavad philosophy of Buddhist school, to be more dangerous than the Buddhists themselves. The Shankarite philosophers' theory that we have to imagine a shape of God is more dangerous than the denial of the existence of God. Notwithstanding all the philosophical theorizing by atheists or Mayavadis, the followers of Krishna consciousness rigidly live according to the injunctions given in Bhagavad Gita, which is accepted as the essence of all Vedic scripture. In Bhagavad Gita 18:46 it is said, Yatak pravritir bhutanam yena sarvamidang tatam sakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindadimanavaha. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. This indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of everything, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmad Yasya Yataha. The Lord Himself also confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavat. I am the origin of everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original source of all emanations. And at the same time, as Paramatma, He is spread all over existence. The Absolute Truth is therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And every living being is meant to satisfy the Supreme Godhead by performing his respective duty, swakarmana tam abhyarcha. Maharaja Prthu wanted to introduce this formula amongst his citizens. The most important point in human civilization is that while one engages in different occupational duties, he must try to satisfy the Supreme Lord by the execution of such duties. That is the highest perfection of life. Sanushtitasya dharmasya sangsidir haritoshanam. By discharging one's prescribed duty, one can become very successful in life if he simply satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The vivid example is Arjuna. He was a Kshatriya. His duty was to fight. And by executing his prescribed duty, he satisfied the Supreme Lord and therefore became perfect. Everyone should follow this principle. The atheists who do not, are condemned in Bhagavad Gita 16:19 by the following statement: Tam aham trichatakru ran samashe sangsareshu naradamam. In this verse it is clearly said that persons who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the lowest of mankind and are very mischievous. Under the regulator principles of the Supreme, such mischievous persons are thrown into the darkness region of material existence and are born of asuras, or atheists. Birth after birth, such asuras go still further down, finally to animal forms, like those of tigers, or similar ferocious beasts. Thus, for millions of years, they have to remain in darkness without knowledge of Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Purushottama, or the best of all living entities. He is a person like all other living entities, but he is the leader or the best of all living beings. That is stated in the Vedas also. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. He is the chief of all eternals, the chief of all living entities, and he is complete and full. He has no need to derive benefit by interfering with the affairs of other living entities, but because he is the maintainer of all, he has the right to bring them to the proper standard so that all living entities may become happy. A father wants all of his children to become happy under his direction. Similarly, God or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has the right to see that all living entities are happy. There is no possibility of becoming happy within this material world. The Father and the Sons are eternal, but if a living entity does not come to the platform of his eternal life of bliss and knowledge, there is no question of happiness. Although Purushottama, the best of all living entities, has no benefit to derive from the common living entities, he does have the right to discriminate between their right and wrong ways. The right way is the path of activities meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we have already discussed, Sunushtitasya dharmasya sangsitir haritoshanam. A living entity may engage in any occupational duty, but if he wants to have perfection in his duties, he must satisfy the Supreme Lord. As such, one who pleases him gets better facilities for living, but one who displeases him gets involved in undesirable situations. It is therefore concluded that there are two kinds of duties: mundane duty and duty performed for the sake of yajna or sacrifice. Yagyartat karma. Any karma, activity one performs which is not for the purpose of yajna is a cause of bondage. Yagyartat kamanonyatra lokoyam karmabandhanaha. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Bhagavad Gita 3:9. Karma bandhana, or the bondage of karma, is administered under the regulations of the stringent laws of material nature. Material existence is a struggle to conquer the impediments put forth by material nature. The asuras are always fighting to overcome these impediments, and by the illusory power of material nature, the foolish living entities work very hard within this material world and take this to be happiness. This is called Maya. In that hard struggle for existence, they deny the existence of the Supreme Authority, Purushottama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In order to regulate the activities of the living entities, God has given us codes, just as a king gives codes of law in a state, and whoever breaks the law is punished. Similarly, the Lord has given the infallible knowledge of the Vedas, which are not contaminated by the four defects of human life, namely the tendency to commit mistakes, to be illusioned, to cheat, and to have imperfect senses. If we do not take direction from the Vedas, but act whimsically, according to our own choice, we are sure to be punished by the laws of the Lord, who offers different types of bodies in the 8,400,000 species of forms. Material existence, or the sense gratification process, is conducted according to the type of body we are given by Prakriti, or material nature. As such, there must be divisions of pious and impious activities, punya and papa. In Bhagavad Gita 7:28, it is clearly stated, Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam dridavrtaha. One who has completely surpassed the resultant activities of the impious path of life. This is possible only when one engages exclusively in pious activities, can understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus one engages in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This life of engaging always in the loving service of the Lord is called adhokshaja diya, or a life of Krishna consciousness, which King Prthu meant his citizens to follow. The different varieties of life and of material existence do not come about by chance and necessity. They are different arrangements made by the Supreme Lord in terms of the pious and impious activities of the living entities. By performing pious activities, one can take birth in a good family, in a good nation, one can get a beautiful body, or one can become very well educated or very rich. We see, therefore, that in different places and in different planets, there are different standards of life, bodily features, and educational statuses, all awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to pious or impious activities. Varieties of life, therefore, develop not by chance, but by arrangement. There is a plan which is already outlined in the Vedic knowledge. One has to take advantage of this knowledge and mold his life in such a way that at the end, especially in the human form of life, he may go back home, back to Godhead, by practicing Krishna consciousness. The theory of chance can best be explained in the Vedic literature by the words agyata sukriti, which refer to pious activities performed without the actor's knowledge. But these are also planned. For example, Krishna comes like an ordinary human being. He comes as a devotee, like Lord Chaitanya, or he sends his representative, the spiritual master, or pure devotee. This is also the planned activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They come to canvas and educate, and thus a person in the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord gets a chance to mix with them, talk with them, and take lessons from them. And somehow or other, if a conditioned soul surrenders to such personalities, and by intimate association with them, chances to become Krishna conscious, he is saved from the material conditions of life. Krishna therefore instructs, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja Ahang Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Mokshayishami Ma Shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 1866. The word sarvapapebhya means from sinful activities. A person who surrenders unto him by utilizing the chance to associate with the pure devotee, spiritual master, or other authorized incarnations of God, like Prthu Maharaj, is saved by Krishna. Then his life becomes successful. What a purport. I mean, what a purport to come up on Advaitacharya's appearance day and have that be the first purport, where it describes everything so clearly. Advaita Acharya. Advaita means one. He's an incarnation of God, and he's non-dual, and he's absolute. And Acharya means teacher. So he came to teach the truth. But because he's an expansion of God, and at the same time God, he thinks himself servant of Lord Chaitanya or Krishna. So everyone, when Krishna says Sarva Dharman Parityajya or Ahang Sarvasya Prabhavo, I am the source of everything, he means everything, even his own expansions. So he's not different from his expansions, but at the same time, those expansions, the first of which is Balarama, and then the Chatravyuha, quadruple expansions, and then another quadruple expansions of Vaikuntha, and from one of them, Mahavishnu. That's Advaitacharya. Mahavishnu came into the material world in the Kali Yuga of this particular day of Brahma and taught the Vedic principles without changing them, absolutely. But when he came, he saw that even in Navadvip, which was a seat of learning, even in India, was degraded. And no one was really interested. The Varnashram system had become degraded into a caste system, which is going on now in India also. And if you're born a certain whatever, that's it. There's no social mobility, there's no ability to improve yourself. And even Krishna says in the Gita, whether you're a Brahmana or a Vaishya or a Shudra or a Brahmachari or a Sannyasi or whatever you are, if you perform your duties for the satisfaction of Krishna, then you can become perfect by that activity, by that occupation. You don't have to change your occupation in order to become perfect. It's not that everyone has to become a Brahmana or else. Even a Shudra, who's just by nature and by the ability to act, tends to work and serve others. I was watching next door, there's a palace being built right outside the window. Every time I go to the bathroom, I look out and I'm seeing how the bricks are going up, and I'm watching all these things going on, and these people, if they do that kind of work, for the satisfaction of Krishna, which they're not in this particular case, but at least they're doing it for devotees, devotees for devotional community. So agyata sukriti, as we heard about in this purport, and we heard a lot of things in this purport, but one of the things was that chance can be defined only by agyata sukriti. Just think about it. Just think about it. The scientists are trying to tell us that everything happened by chance. But what is chance? If you flip a coin 100 times, the chances are that it's going to come up 50% heads. That's chance. Accident. But what happens the first time you flip the coin? Where's the chance? There's no chance. It's going to come up head or tails, 50%, okay. But there's no statistic. There's no statistical, chance, because in the beginning, there was no chance. So this idea of things happening by chance is just illusory. It's phantasmagoric. It's not real. So the real idea is given here by Prabhupada, that agyata sukriti, you do something pious, even if you're not aware of it, you get some benefit by the law of nature, and it builds up in your heart as a kind of pious bank account. And when it comes to the point where you're pious enough, and you get a book, or you hear the Maha Mantra, or you get a gulab jamun, or whatever, you immediately, yeah, this is good. And you become favorable, and you become attracted, and you can take it up. And others who have not done pious work, who are, as described here, atheistic or mischievous, they can't. They can't understand, even if you tell them the same words. I remember when I used to distribute the books in the airports in the old days, 72, 73, 74, 75, and we would meet people, and I was determined to distribute on the basis of the book. So not any charity lines or this or that. So I'd regularly read, I'd pick sections of Prabhupada's books like this that were very clear and powerful, and I would read them to the people, listen to this. This is what you're going to get from this book. And sometimes people would just say, that's it, I've been looking like this for the rest of my life. Here, give me the book. Here, how much do you need? And it was like automatic. And some people, you read the same thing, and they say, what language are you speaking? Is this Greek? Chinese? What is it? I can't understand a word you're saying. Forget it, get out of here. Not by chance, not possible. Advaita Acharya. Advaita, one. The ingredients are coming from him, and the efficient cause, the push, the beginning of the cause and effect is coming from him. So if we become conscious of that and do whatever we do for the satisfaction of Krishna, even though we may not have perfect understanding yet, or whatever. And what did Lord Chaitanya do? He came and gave us this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and the Bhagavatam. A way to purify our hearts and to understand what the actual reality is, simple, just by hearing. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox here and go to the next verse. Advaita Acharya Ki Jai. Text 28, 29. That was one of the most complete purports I've heard in a long time. Prabhupada. This is confirmed not only by the evidence of the Vedas, but also by the personal behavior of great personalities like Manu, Uttanapad, Dhruva, Priyavrata, and my grandfather Anga, as well as by many other great personalities and ordinary living entities, exemplified by Maharaja Prahlad and Bali, all of whom are atheists, believing in the existence of the Supreme Personality, are theists, all of whom are theists, believing in the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who carries a club. Purport. Narottam Das Thakur states that one has to ascertain the right path for his activities by following in the footsteps of great saintly persons and books of knowledge. Under the guidance of a spiritual master, Sadhu Shastra Guru Bhakya, a saintly person is one who follows the Vedic injunctions, which are the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Guru refers to one who gives proper direction under the authority of the Vedic injunctions and according to the examples of the lives of great personalities. I'll say that again. The word Guru refers to one who gives proper direction under the authority of the Vedic injunctions and according to the... Oh wait, I'll do that again, because every time something like that, my mind goes, and then it goes away from it. Everywhere, isn't it? You're walking through a store, it's like it's become the call of the wild, right? The Skype sound, this call of the wild. The word Guru refers to one who gives proper direction under the authority of the Vedic injunctions and according to the examples of the lives of great personalities. The best way to mold one's life is to follow in the footsteps of the authorized personalities like those mentioned herein by Prthu Maharaj, beginning with Swayambhuva Manu. The safest path in life is to follow such great personalities, especially those mentioned in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The Mahajans, or great personalities, are Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, Manu, the Kumaras, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, Yamaraj, Bhishma, Janaka, Shukadev Goswami, and Kapila Muni. Text 30. Although abominable persons like my father, Vena, the grandson of death personified, are bewildered on the path of religion, all the great personalities, like those mentioned, agree that in this world, the only bestower of the benedictions of religion, economic development, sense gratification, liberation, or elevation to the heavenly planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. King Vena, the father of Prthu Maharaj, was condemned by the Brahmanas and saintly persons because of his denying the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rejecting the method of satisfying him by performance of Vedic sacrifice. In other words, he was an atheist who did not believe in the existence of God, who consequently stopped all Vedic ritualistic ceremonies in his kingdom. Prthu Maharaj considered King Vena's character abominable because Vena was foolish regarding the execution of religious performances. Atheists are of the opinion that there is no need to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be successful in religion, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. According to them, Dharma, or religious principles, are meant to establish an imaginary God, to encourage one to be moral, honest, and just, so that the social orders may be maintained in peace and tranquility. Furthermore, they say that actually there is no need to accept God for this purpose. For if one follows the principles of morality and honesty, that is sufficient. Similarly, if one makes nice plans and works very hard for economic development, automatically the result of economic development will come. Similarly, sense gratification also does not depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for if one earns enough money by any process, one will have sufficient opportunity for sense gratification. Insofar as liberation is concerned, They say that there is no need to talk of liberation because after death, everything is finished. Prthu Maharaj, however, did not accept the authority of such atheists, headed by his father, who was the grandson of death personified. Generally, a daughter inherits the qualities of her father, and a son gets the qualities of his mother. Thus, Mrityu's daughter, Sunita, got all the qualities of her father, and Vena inherited the qualities of his mother. A person who is always subjected to the rules and regulations of repeated birth and death cannot accommodate anything beyond materialistic ideas. Since King Vena was such a man, he did not believe in the existence of God. Modern civilization agrees with the principles of Vena, but factually, if we scrutinizingly study all the conditions of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, we must accept the principles of the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Vedic literature, religion consists only of the codes of law given by God. If one does not accept the authority of the Supreme Godhead in matters of religion and morality, one must explain why two persons of the same moral standard achieve different results. It is generally found that even if two men have the same moral standards of ethics, honesty, and morality, their positions are still not the same. Similarly, in economic development, it is seen that if two men work very hard day and night, still the results are not the same. One person may enjoy great opulence, even without working, whereas another person, although working very hard, does not even get 2 sufficient meals a day. Similarly, in the matter of sense gratification, sometimes one who has sufficient food is still not happy in his family affairs, or sometimes is not even married. Whereas another person, even though not economically well off, has the greatest opportunity for sense gratification. Even an animal like a hog or a dog may have greater opportunities for sense gratification than a human being. Aside from liberation, even if we consider only the preliminary necessities of life, dharma, artha, and kama, religion, economic development, and sense gratification, we will see that they are not the same for everyone. Therefore, it must be accepted that there is someone who determines the different standards. In conclusion, not only for liberation must one depend on the Lord, but even for ordinary necessities in this material world. Prthu Maharaj therefore indicated that in spite of having rich parents, children are sometimes not happy. Similarly, in spite of valuable medicine administered by a competent physician, sometimes the patient dies. Or in spite of having a big safe boat, sometimes a man drowns. We may thus struggle to counteract impediments offered by material nature, but our attempts cannot be successful unless we are favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. I heard Prabhupada just this morning. He said, I came to America with 40 rupees in my pocket. At that time, 40 rupees was about $7, $8 US. But it was not exchangeable. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't get that $8. So he came off the boat with nothing. Literally. And then he joked. He said, and now, and this was 1975, he said, now I'm worth 40 crores. He said, so what kind of businessman gets that kind of return in just 66, 67, 8, 9, 7 years? Doesn't happen. From nothing to that much in that short a time. And he didn't have any earned income. I mean, sorry, I'll use myself as an example. I haven't had a job, an earned income job, for 69. Last one I had was end of 68, 69. 69 till now is what? Huh? 50 years. I haven't had a job in 50 years. No earned income at all. Zip. And I never think of where my next meal's coming from. I go from one place to another, more or less effortlessly. I mean, I got an old body and I'm in pain and this and that and the other thing, but that's natural. But I'm surrounded by loving persons all the time, wherever I go. It's mystical. How is that possible? I broke my arm, remember when I was here last? I broke my arm and went to the hospital. And somehow or other, by the grace of Hari Ballabh or somebody, the hospital agreed to do it for charity. I mean, I was just, Guru Bhakti's going like this. That doesn't happen. What is this? And you know what this bill was? $60,000. I mean, that's crazy because they'll always bring it down, but that's what they do. They just jack it up and the insurance companies pay and everything just keeps going up and up and up. And the so-called earned income is staying the same or going down and down. And therefore people, in San Francisco, California, if you have $116,000 a year income, you're in poverty. Welcome to Rome. Hare Krishna. So this is not just ideas. It's not just theory. It's not just ideas. This universe is working on certain laws, and we're hearing what those laws are, and if we act accordingly, we get relieved from that burning anxiety. Text 31. It's getting close to 7:30. We should maybe, because they're going to have a program over in the temple. I'll read one more verse. 31. This is Prthu Maharaja is speaking to his citizens. Amazing. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. Purport. The truth hurts and the absolute truth doesn't hurt at all. Purport. In India, one can actually see that a person who takes a bath in the Ganges waters daily is almost free from all kinds of diseases. Most people don't know this. There's a picture of India being, like everybody's sick and everybody's dying, but it's not like that. Anybody who bathes every day, their whole life, I've met them when I was living in Bombay. You never met anybody more healthy than these people. A very respectable Brahmana in Calcutta never took a doctor's medicine. Even though he sometimes felt sick, he would not accept medicine from the physician, but would simply drink Ganges water. And he was always cured within a very short time. The glories of Ganges water are known to Indians and to ourselves also. The river Ganges flows by Calcutta. Sometimes within the water there are many stools and other dirty things which are washed away from neighboring mills and factories. But thousands of men take baths in the Ganges water, and they're very healthy as well as spiritually inclined. That is the effect of Ganges water. The Ganges is glorified because it emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, if one takes to the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, or takes to Krishna consciousness, he is immediately cleansed, of the many dirty things which have accumulated in his innumerable births. We have seen that in spite of the very black record of their past lives, persons who take to Krishna consciousness become perfectly cleansed of all dirty things and make spiritual progress very swiftly. Therefore, Prthu Maharaja advises that without the benediction of the Supreme Lord, one cannot make advancement, either in so-called morality, economic development, or sense gratification. One should therefore take to the service of the Lord, or Krishna consciousness, and thus very soon become a perfect man, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Chipram bhavati dharmatma shashvash chantim nigachati. Being a responsible king, Prthu Maharaj recommends that everyone take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus be immediately purified. Lord Sri Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering unto Him, one is immediately relieved of all sinful reactions. As Krishna takes away all the sinful reactions of a person immediately upon his surrender unto Him, similarly, the external manifestation of Krishna, the representative of Krishna, who acts as the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, takes all the resultant actions of the sinful life of the disciple immediately after the disciple's initiation. Thus, if a disciple follows the principles instructed by the spiritual master, he remains purified and is not contaminated by the material infection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore stated that the spiritual master who plays the part of Krishna's representative has to consume all the sinful reactions of his disciple. Sometimes a spiritual master takes the risk of being overwhelmed by the sinful reactions of the disciples and undergoes a sort of tribulation due to their acceptance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised us that one not accept many disciples. Hare Krishna. Of course, Srila Prabhupada explained to us, depending on the heat, fire, if the fire is really hot, you could put anything into it and it just burns it. And if the fire is not very hot, you put something in it and you can just put it out. And that's what happens. If a person's not qualified to have many, many, many disciples, then the combined effect of taking on their reactions will overwhelm a person. Therefore, 11 years I've been initiating. I have 23 disciples in 11 years. Playing the safe game. Hare Krishna. Text 32. What should I do? It's 7:30. Program is going on over there. What should I do? Should I stop? I think I'll stop. Yes. It's a special day. It's Advaita Acharya's appearance day. Let the devotees go to the program. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, all of you out there. All glories to Advaita Acharya. All glories to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's transcendental purports. All glories to Prthu Maharaja's instructions to his citizens. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same station. Hare Krishna.